Welcome everybody to a brand new episode of Three Man Weave. I'm your host Jesse Kass. We have two very special guests with me here this month. Of course, you know Nican Robinson here to my right, and since we're here around family time, my father, Robbie Kass, who's also a former college basketball player at LIU. Happy to join us.
Very long time ago.
And for the holidays, we're taking a break from the beers. A little tea, afternoon tea for you here on Bronx Net as we're here to talk some NBA basketball. And we're here, last time we talked, it was previewing the season. We've had a couple months since our last one, and it's been a really exciting start to the year. What stood out to either of you most so far in the early part of the season?
The Knicks.
We were talking before that, so we might as well get it out there right now.
Just to get it out the way, I didn't necessarily have big hopes for them, but what I did at least think is that they would take steps to being competitive, or show some sort of competitiveness within the organization. That has been completely derailed. After losing out on Kyrie, after losing out on Kevin Durant, who one can argue did they want to go there or not, they just have not been a solid team.
Yeah.
At least, competitive every single night. It's been...
Well, I think I'm here to bring historical perspective, since I go back to the 60s.
So you actually saw the championships.
I was young, I did see the 69 championship team. Willis Reed was a personal idol of mine growing up. Certainly watching Walt Frazier play, watching them get Earl Monroe in subsequent years. There's a whole history, and being from New York, suffering now, that has existed. But it helps to have perspective, because that obviously is a basketball city, and all of us New Yorkers are pained by this regime, and what we're seeing now, what we've seen over the last 25, 30 years. There's a misdirect between the front office and the coaching staff, because basically the type of style that Fizdale seemingly wants to play, the players that have been either recruited in as free agents or drafted, seems to be a mishmash, and there doesn't seem to be any sort of specific mindset on how you want to play.
No.
Obviously the emphasis supposedly is leading with defense, as with all great teams, but based on who's on the floor, that doesn't seem to be manifesting.
Or depending on which lineup they play, it changes drastically. So you have guys who can play defense, like Nican and Nican Robinson and Taj Gibson. RJ Barrett's been pretty good in that end too. And then guys who can't, when you have lineups more centered around Dennis Smith and Julius Randle, there's no real identity. There's almost two teams within the team.
And again, New York City is a guard-oriented city, with probably some of the greatest guards ever coming out of New York City. We can go over that later if you want. But you should pick your point guard. Who's it going to be? You can't have this rotation of 3 or 4 guys. Pick your guy and let's go. If you trade a supposed franchise player and get Dennis Smith in return, then play him. I happen to be a Dennis. When you have that type of athleticism and you can shoot the ball and drive to the basket, that's my guy. So
for me, I think they can play together, so I don't think it has to be one or the other. My guy would probably be Nican, for the simple fact that we look at the Knicks and their futility over the past decade or 20 years. They've been one of the worst defensive teams almost consistently throughout that. So you have someone who not only is a good defender, but a great defender. You think of some of the great defenders in the league, Kawhi Leonard and Pat Beverly and guys like that. He's on that level with his length and what he can do. He still needs to take a lot of steps offensively, which is why I think he can play with Dennis Smith Jr. almost as a combo guard.
I would love that. I'd love to see that.
But I think
there's also a leadership issue that you see. Even you have someone like, now that we're here in Los Angeles, we watch Pat Beverly play. Obviously, Pat Beverly can't shoot the ball, but what he does bring is a fire and a passion on the court that, as your point guard, that is something that basically leads to other players sort of buying in.
Dennis Smith doesn't have that. I love what he brings athletically, and he has skills. But in terms of the development of playing the point guard position in the NBA, that is a very steep learning curve. And the thing is, I'm not sure he could turn off his ego to do that. he very much reminds me of, not as skilled, but controversial statement here, Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving has all the skills necessary to beat you left, right, up, down, so on and so forth. He's clutch. Leadership is lacking and missing. And that's rearing its head again this year with this team in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Surprise. So those two guys are on the same level to me. Elfrid Payton, I think, if he's hurt. If we're going to play somebody, if we're talking about a point guard leader who's kind of been through the ringer already, with this organization.
Although you do like your point guards to be able to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And
the reason I say Ntilikina, he at least has shown more than Peyton the ability to hit a three. He still needs to work on it, but he's still, 21 years old, 22? He was 18 when he came in the league, so it's one of those things where he's got to have a chance to play a little bit.
He definitely has to have a chance to play. Yes, your point guard has to shoot. They don't have much else other than that. So if someone, if you throw it in the post and I want you to kick it out, if you got somebody drop, they don't have the ability to make plays to even consistently make plays to even get those kinds of shots, corner threes, top of the key, they don't even have players to put him in that position to do that.
I mean, that's where
maybe R.J. Barrett.
I was gonna say that's where R.J. Barrett. We see so many teams. It's a positionless game now, where some of the best teams in the league don't necessarily have a great point guard. You look at probably the two best, the Clippers and the Lakers, don't have your prototypical star point guard. It's Beverly for the Clippers. It's Rondo for the Lakers, even though he's not
his three-point shot shooter.
But for those teams, they have wings, Paul George and Kawhi, or LeBron,
and
who can create.
Well, you also have point forwards or just players who can handle the ball, like LeBron, who's leading the league in assists right now.
Yeah.
And you have Kawhi Leonard, who can basically take over a game when he wants to. And you have Paul George on the Clippers as well.
Yeah. Anthony Davis for the Lakers.
And Anthony Davis, who can be a 7-foot point guard.
Yeah.
Actually, he was a guard in high school.
Yeah.
He was a point guard when he was a freshman in high school.
Right.
Yeah, he was like 6'2".
Okay.
Yeah. Or guys, I mean, just moving to another team, you have guys that, even though I'm not a fan of their style of play, but it is what it is, the Rockets. To where you have guys that can drive and kick, can draw you in and pass out. So even if you're a non-shooting point guard, if you're a tweener like Eric Gordon, all you have to do is spot up on the wing. But you have guys that can drive and get you there with this style of play that we have now in the NBA.
Right.
And the Knicks are just lacking.
Well, and I also think the whole point guard phenomenon is not a thing of the past, but in the pros at least, not in college. And we can talk about all-time great point guards like Tiny Archibald, who came into the league out of New York City.
Over Jason Kidd?
Well, I won't say over Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd, I think, transformed the point guard position. You have a guy of that size with that speed, but again, he couldn't shoot the ball like Tiny Archibald could.
He couldn't shoot at all.
Or Ernie D.
Right.
Yeah, Ernie D could shoot the ball. But getting back to the Knicks, and I guess, what I'd like to see in a guard, point guard, shooting guard, whatever, just a guard, is the ability to create your own shot and to shoot the ball. I think it's invaluable, particularly in this NBA, which is why I have some issue with Barrett. And I know we've talked about that a little bit in the past, but his shooting inconsistency, I think, is going to be problematic in the NBA. Because I think people are going to, particularly, not that the Knicks have to worry about this come playoff time, but
Maybe one day.
You see what happens to even someone like Ben Simmons, who cannot shoot the ball, and that creates a problem. It creates a problem then for your low post game, because people will then,
stack the box.
Exactly. And so everything it's a domino effect. You got to be able to shoot the ball in this league.
I do think Barrett has been better than expected, at least from three-point range. It's not a Ben Simmons thing where he's not going to take a three-point shot for 4 years, or the whole world's going to explode when he makes his first career three.
Shout out to Ben Simmons.
Barrett's actually shooting a respectable three-point percentage. His free throw numbers have been poor, so I think that's
which is consistent with his college situation.
Yeah, but I do think that. At least out of past Knicks draft picks where we watched and we're like, I don't know if this is going to work out, you can see him play and automatically see he's a real player.
I think he's a component on a team. I actually think he's more someone who is off the bench, who can contribute. I don't know if he's a real starter in this league.
I mean, he's averaging 15 and 8 rebounds already. So
I think he's a starter. I don't think that I think in this game of positionless basketball, he actually is best suited being confined to a position and, let's say, if there are sets, making sure that he gets easy baskets. You know, because he'll learn how to create off the dribble and take, he'll learn that throughout, he has the ability to do that and will learn that throughout the next couple of years. But putting him in a system would make him flourish. They're asking way too much of him right now. As a rookie, okay, sometimes want you to play point, sometimes want you to play this, play that. Once again, the identity.
That circles back to
bad.
exactly the type of players that they're drafting and also signing as free agents. It seems to be, if indeed they want this kid to develop, there are maybe 3 or 4 free agents that they sign, maybe that they shouldn't have signed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, at least for Barrett, he's one of the few young guys that is getting the time. Even if it's not the best utilized time, he's getting almost 38 minutes a game. So at least he's getting the chance to play and showing that he can finish around the basket as well as anyone already. So
yeah. And then, again, not to harp on the shooting, but I'm going to harp on the shooting. You draft a kid like Knox who can shoot the ball. He should be playing.
yeah, absolutely.
He should be playing.
And his shot has improved from a year ago. His minutes are now coming down. So
Yeah.
that's a problem organizationally of what
agreed.
they're doing.
Organizationally, if I just may, none of these guys are gonna do what they need to do, and they're not gonna be put in a position because let's just look at the top down here. You have the general manager holding a press conference
After a bad loss.
After a bad loss,
Well, they clearly
Essentially
wanted to.
blaming-
They were looking to fire Fizdale at that point.
which they have put everyone in this position.
Yeah.
Fizdale came in, he was going to have the opportunity to coach the Unicorn. The team that they had at that time, that's what he's coming in to do.
Yeah.
And see if he can improve upon that. And then all of a sudden, you wipe the slate clean and now you blame him. None of these guys will be put in a position to actually succeed because look at what you're dealing with.
Right.
Well, we know about Dolan, which
It
is
just
the
hurts.
obvious.
It
It's been
hurts.
awful. But we were
Yeah.
talking a little bit before the show. The other person who's been there through all of this is Steve Mills, whether it's been in the president capacity or now the GM alongside Scott Perry. But you look at all these pictures, he's like a vampire. He's everywhere. He's with Phil Jackson. He's with Mike Woodson. He's with all these coaches. He's with D'Antoni. He's with Isaiah Thomas. He's there in every single one of these pictures, holding the ball, smiling in the press conference, and he's the one constant alongside Dolan. So Mills has to go. Absolutely,
go.
yeah.
He absolutely has to go. Either that or just, very revolutionary idea here. Well, he's already with the Blazers, but bring back Carmelo. That's what I say. Go ahead, bring him back. At least there'll be some offense, but that's not going to happen. He's doing his thing now, a couple games in with the Blazers.
I think Carmelo has finally chosen the right team to sign on because he should have signed with Portland. Hindsight's 2020, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They wanted him back there.
They did on it for a while.
They wanted him. He was needed. Portland was always needed front court scoring, and it would have been a perfect team. But hopefully, he still has some stuff in the tank.
I mean, he had that game with 25 the other night on pretty efficient shooting. I think he'll be up and down in his efficiency,
absolutely.
which is
I think we can all agree he should have been in the league.
absolutely.
Past year and a half.
And talking about him he's not an X. He's still what? He's still the class ahead of LeBron. He still can play.
Absolutely.
Like he's not an.
And I'm sorry, his defense is no worse than James Harden.
Exactly.
I know people harp on.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean,
Man.
people harp on his defense. I think we both can name maybe 10 players in the league who are in the league because of their defense. Otherwise, you have to be able to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah.
Goes back to how this conversation started. You got to be able to shoot the ball, particularly if you're shooting forward.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing about Carmelo, even though he's truly a small forward. People think, playing with the power forward. No, he's a small forward, for sure.
Yeah.
And also someone who can handle the ball. And, it's funny, he's never really been given the opportunity to do what LeBron does for the Lakers. But clearly, not now, but he could have been doing that during his prime years, for sure.
No, absolutely.
I mean, I think some of that is to his own detriment for what he defined himself as in those years. He probably could have done that with D'Antoni in New York, but didn't really buy into
But
that.
I think the big difference is that, LeBron is a pass-first guy.
Yeah.
Melo's not.
Melo is not. Melo is pound the ball and shoot the ball, but he could shoot the ball. But then again, Melo didn't have players to play alongside that LeBron did. He didn't have his Kyrie.
I mean, he also needed, I think, the one main difference between LeBron and Melo is a leader, but in terms of on the floor leadership, I think that's where LeBron kind of takes the next step. And you see the years where Melo was really successful.
Yeah.
It was in Denver with Chauncey Billups, and then that one year in New York was with Jason Kidd and Marcus Camby and Rasheed Wallace. All those veterans were around him to help him kind of push that team in the right direction. So a great point guard was, and he has one now with Lillard, so maybe that'll work. But Portland is off to a terrible start, so they definitely need his services.
Well, Christian's just he's still hurt. I mean, they are not in a position to compete at the level that they were doing last year and continue the successes that they had last year.
And they got rid of that front court, which, you know, doesn't look like a lot in the offseason, but Aminu and Harkless were with them for that whole ride, and they're both gone now. And as we navigate our way through the league, Nican, we've had so much success for you and your Warriors.
You know,
It's finally time for them to hit the rock bottom of the league, at least for 1 year.
which is fine.
We're all weeping.
Yeah.
We're all weeping for the Warriors.
What has it been like for you as a fan?
For me, I'm okay. I'm okay.
You're kind of tired. You're just ready to
Just
relax
like,
this year.
it's fine. Let's relax. Let's be cool. You know, it's fine because the biggest thing is that they'll be back.
They will.
They will be back. They'll be back next year, and it'll be all good. Also, we have this new arena that we're playing in. It's beautiful. I also don't like it, but they left it
Doesn't have
open.
the same
But you know, whatever. It
atmosphere.
doesn't have the same atmosphere at all. But you know, it's there, and they will get adjusted, and they'll be back.
I will say the one thing that, in credit the Warriors front office, because this is what good front offices do. Another, maybe not Draymond's level, but another very good player looks like in Eric Pascal.
He looks great.
Who's already had a couple 30-plus point games. Granted, he's playing. Someone has to score those points,
Right.
but someone who can
Looks
play.
like Villanova's the new UCLA.
Just saying. Longer shorts.
Right.
Longer shorts. Longer shorts.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll be okay. You know, let's take a breather. We'll be okay. Not making the playoffs. You know.
All right, some teams that are actually good this year, though. What we expected in the East, Milwaukee, Philadelphia has been not as good yet, but they'll likely be there. And then the Lakers and the Clippers. Those seem like the top of the top in the league right now.
Toronto.
They've been impressive.
I'm just going to go ahead and say Toronto. By the end of the year, I'm going to go ahead and say 3-4 seed. They're going to be a problem in the playoffs.
I think they're going to come out of the East.
Ooh,
Really?
over Boston.
Over Boston, and
Ooh.
certainly
Over
after
Milwaukee,
Joel
over Philly.
Embiid's
Oh, yeah.
0-point game, and the fact that they're really missing Jimmy Butler, and can't shoot the ball with any consistency. Toronto plays defense like no other, like the Clippers do.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
And Siakam is once again probably the most improved
He
player.
might win it 2 years in a row.
Would that be awesome if he got most improved? He's not getting MVP, but I just want to hear his name in competition for that award, because I mean you can only improve so many times until
I
you
think
look at
you
you and go,
can
hey,
make a comparison to
Kawhi
Giannis.
Or Giannis.
Yeah. No, I mean obviously he doesn't have that level of talent at this point, but in terms of his progression and his athletic skills, rebounds the ball, brings it up, basically can drive to the basket on anybody.
Yeah.
and his jump shot is improved.
It's
Well,
impressive.
certainly better than what Giannis has been.
Oh yeah. Well, last year Siakam was mainly corner threes, and they had a whole stat this year that now he's taking a bunch from all over the lane or all over the perimeter,
Yeah,
each side, and he's making them with
Yeah.
pretty good consistency.
I think Toronto is the most surprising team this year in the NBA.
Yeah.
They are. They would be the team. I don't know if I'd say they'll come out of the East, but they would be the team I would at least want to see in the playoffs from the fact that you'll get beat up.
And keep in mind, we're going full circle. They don't have their point guard for basically the entire season.
Well, Lowry and Ibaka have been out, and then we see how talking about improvement. Fred VanVleet has been insane, and then just their developmental system. Chris Boucher, who was the G League MVP, has been great with Ibaka out. Terrence Davis, all these unknown, undrafted rookies,
And they all play defense.
Yeah.
And they all play. And I guess we're going to talk about coach. Who'd have thought?
Nick Nurse.
Nick Nurse, yeah.
I mean, Nick, because what was he before?
He's been around.
Right.
He's been
So,
around. I mean, G League was when he really had his biggest experience, and then assistant coach, and then head coach. So he's been all over the map, though.
You know, some of the guys with the greatest minds did not play, if you will, or play to the level that a lot of these all-star superstars do play. Some of the greatest minds. I mean, we're talking Greg Popovich, we're talking Eric Spoelstra, now we're talking Nick Nurse. I mean, some of these guys, some of the greatest minds.
Nice when that happens.
Yeah. And great with player personnel.
Yeah, they should also do that with their TV and radio broadcasts.
Yeah.
Let's get some people who know the game, who doesn't necessarily have to be ex-athletes to do it. You know,
It's good alley-oop. I like that.
Yeah. Got a couple good people right here.
That's
talking about the game.
It's good alley-oop there. It's good alley-oop.
All right, so speaking of great defensive teams, you mentioned the Clippers and the Lakers. Both of them have been unbelievable. But just watching, for instance, we're recording this the day before Thanksgiving. It'll be up in December, early December. Clippers played the Mavericks as we're recording this last night. Luka Doncic had been destroying the league, unable to stop, and the Clippers wrecked the Mavericks, who have the number one offense in the league.
Yeah.
People were talking about them as a contender, which is not true, but they just absolutely destroyed that Mavericks team. It was never close. Their defense was unbelievable, and you look at, they still don't have Landry Shamet back yet, which is one thing as an offensive component, but Kawhi, Paul George, Mo Harkless all switching on you at the same time, and that's not even mentioning Beverly, Jermichael Green, Montrezl Harrell, Zubats. Their defense is stifling.
And they did the same thing to them that they did to the Rockets.
Yeah.
And even though that game did come down to the wire on some stuff that we can have a whole James Harden session next time, but doubling Harden, making smart defensive plays, staying solid.
And they were doubling Luka last night.
Yeah.
Two long guys running at you, shadowing you, forcing you to give the ball up, make someone else do
And
this.
you notice this, and again, anyone who's played the game and understands it, but you see someone like Patrick Beverly off the ball and going down to guard the key when his man is on the other side of the court. The team defensive concept that the Clippers play and Toronto plays, and some of those elite teams play, it's so apparent, and it's the reason why they're successful.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah, and you look at, the names that pop out are Beverly, Leonard, and George, but Mo Harkless, at least early in the season right now, it'll probably change in the playoffs, but he's starting and getting the primary assignment on these star players and doing a fantastic job.
Well, St. John's, that's all.
Again,
Shout out
New
to
York
Uncle
Zone.
Paul.
Kudos
who's
to
actually
everyone back
coaching
home
them.
in New York City. We're recognizing out here 3,000 miles away.
All right, we know that their fans would be very mad because they're very sensitive, but the Lakers, what if we didn't discuss them at all? They do have the best record in the league right now, 15-2 as we record this. What have you seen from them?
I've seen vintage LeBron, meaning LeBron that is never shaken, LeBron who's whether it be verbal leadership or whether it be leading by example, is making sure the guys understand that we can take our time, do not get rattled, we run our stuff, we do our thing. No matter how many runs that happen, let's keep doing what we do. This is a championship team, we know that. But I don't think that gets talked about enough, is how, just because a team goes on a run, you don't get rattled. Just because they score, you don't get rattled. You come down and you do what you do. And you see that every single time. It's consistent every single game.
This is as good as LeBron James has played, I think, ever, to be perfectly honest. And I'm talking about even playoff LeBron James, because at times he's disappeared in the playoffs, and at times he's been probably one of the greatest players ever in the playoffs. And his consistency this year, I think he has something to prove. I think he took a bit of a beating from the media and from, I think,
Just missing the playoffs last year. And
the fact that the Lakers missed the playoffs, that he was hurt, and he really wasn't himself when he came back from that groin injury that happened in Golden State, I think.
Yeah.
He slipped.
But he clearly has something to prove this year, and I think he's the MVP.
I think to this point, it's hard to argue against it.
But obviously it helps having Anthony Davis playing alongside you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and their supporting cast has done a nice job. That'll be tested as we get further in the season, the playoffs. But Danny Green, even Dwight Howard has done well.
Dwight
Howard is
very
well. Shoot, give him a most improved player. No, maybe not.
Just give him a finally award for
finally.
Well, I think
Shorts.
Well,
Well,
Shorts.
and then he, think he fixed his hair a little bit now, so I think he's, hey, priorities.
But this is what D'Antoni and all these other coaches he's had over the past 5 years have told him. Forget about your flawed post-up game where you're going to brick it off the backboard. Set picks, roll to the rim, offensive rebound, and block shots. And
Rebound
he's accepted that
rebound
role.
the ball and play defense. Dwight Howard was a force.
He was
in
the best
NBA.
player in the league for a good 5-year stretch
Yeah,
when he was in Orlando.
And he certainly could rebound, offensive rebound, off the defensive boards. And obviously, as players age, their roles adapt and acclimate to, your new surroundings. And clearly, with Anthony Davis down low, his need to score the ball is not there at all.
Which is the perfect situation.
He's also playing with the greatest player of his generation right now in LeBron. So I think hopefully he's figured it out.
Yeah, it seems like he's in the perfect spot.
Buy in. There you go.
Just buy in, especially when you have the greatest player of his generation. Buy in. He's buying in.
Agree.
Yeah.
And that's appreciated.
All right, so before we run out of time, we know you said you had Toronto coming out of the East. Might as well just say it's very early, but your finals prediction, who joins Toronto in the final who wins the championship?
I'm going to go with my heart and my head on this, but this is the Los Angeles Clippers year, and I do believe that they will come out of the West.
Thank you. What about you?
Ooh, boy. East, I'm still gonna go with Boston. West, ooh, man. Can I just cheat and just say Los Angeles?
Pick one.
Gosh.
Pick one.
Okay, just for debate's sake, I'm gonna go with the Lakers.
Okay, and then I'll go with, since it's still early, I don't want to overreact. I'll still say Philadelphia out of the East. I think they have the most talent, and when it comes playoff time, their size, I think we'll get it done. And then the Clippers in the West, which should be very exciting. With a lot of players that have seen each other, with Tobias Harris and Lou Williams, and guys that know each other.
Before we leave,
We got to talk about
Lou Williams. I mean, come on.
I don't want to talk about Lou Williams.
Full circle in terms of, we started about talking about guards. Is that not as silky smooth and, a guy, I don't know, all you guys back east, I know he played in Philly for a while, I know he was in Atlanta, I know he's up in Toronto, but Lou Williams is probably the most prolific scoring guard I have seen in a long time.
I think that's, you honestly talk about the Clippers and the Lakers and the difference. I think that's the difference, because you look, they each have two superstars. Lou is essentially a big three. He makes them a big three with what he does.
No question.
Offensively.
I can't talk about Lou Williams because that is the greatest robbery. That is the most unfair cheat code in NBA history. How you get Kawhi and Paul George and you didn't have to give up Lou Williams. I can't talk about it. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Sweet Lou.
I think that's the difference when you have Jerry West and you have a front office like LA Clippers have, compared to some of the other NBA teams.
Yeah. Like we started the show with unfortunately, our Knicks.
Yes.
We do know that if you want to hand me that pillow, we can find this out. We do know that
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yeah, Brooklyn's in the house.
Okay.
Here on Bronxstead. We knew that Biggie, the Nets have their Biggie uniforms. Biggie was a Knicks fan, so there you go, Brooklyn Nets. That's going to do it for this week, or this month's edition of 3 Man Week. We'll talk to you again in 2020. So until then, peace.